Welcome back. Thank all of you for pressing your way to get here on a Saturday in the middle of the traffic and the funerals and everything else that's going on. How we appreciate it and how blessed we were on yesterday. And we're looking forward to another blessing on today. Let me just say, as I begin to say welcome in the opening prayer, bathrooms on my right for the ladies, on my left for the men, and downstairs is where the snacks and the sandwiches and all will be for your eating pleasure. But we're going to get filled on information. We're going to get filled on some good information. Isn't that wonderful that early detection saves lives? Knowledge is power. And so we thank God for this time that we have together today. Let's pray. God, we thank you again that you have allowed us to assemble, that you brought together people from across the airwave, made their way here in Chicago, and those who have come to present, those who have come to receive. We thank you for this time of networking, this time of unity, this time of information, empowerment, and planning. We thank you already in advance for people who will turn their lives around because what have happened this weekend. We thank you for the sharing, making ourselves evangelists of one, telling somebody else how to be healthy. And we're already claiming victory. And so we ask now that you'll be with us in the midst of everyone who will present in this space, in this day. We claim it and we say thank you now in Jesus' name. Amen. Again, those of you at the door, come on in and come on down so we can share. Amen. This master of order, this Toastmaster, didn't he do a super job yesterday? He keeps us going. Come on, I need you to put your hand together one more time. Come on back and take us in.
Good morning, good morning. And for all those of you who were here with us yesterday, welcome back. For those of you who are here joining us for part 2 today, glad you could be here with us. Elton John sang a song called Don't Break My Heart. But more importantly, Sister Toni Braxton preached about Unbreak My Heart. Our idea here today is let's not even get to the point where our heart has any problems. The name of this program is What's Breaking My Heart? The idea is a community conversation, heart disease prevention, early detection, and survivorship. We want to do those things. We don't want to fix a heart that is in damage. We want to keep the heart healthy and prevent this sort of thing. It's cheaper and it's better for our quality of life. So again, welcome. This program is hosted by JLM Abundant Life Center. Reverend Morris, of course, being CEO and pastor. Reverend, thank you very much for having us here with you today. But it's also in a partnership with AstraZeneca Pharmaceutical Company. We have a couple of representatives here. James, if you could stand up. Colleen, Sharika, thank you very much for being here with us. Thank you all very, very much for being here. And of course, with HEAL Collaborative, and we'll have someone from HEAL welcome us in just a moment. If you were here yesterday, first off, in those packets, there's a lot of good information. We're going to go through it. The first thing is this. There is a form, a pre-programmed form. We'd like you to fill that out if you could. And on the back, there's a part 2. At the end of it, you're going to fill out the back end. So we want you to fill out the pre-programmed part. And if you can start doing it now if you want to. Now, also in this, there's some really good information. Yesterday, Dr. Larry Sanders gave us a wonderful presentation on heart disease and what are some of the things that entail heart disease. And he had a couple of interesting points. The biggest one was in 1900, the 5 leading causes of death in the United States were, the top 4 were infectious diseases. The number 5th one was cancer. And the number 5 was heart disease. Number 6 was cancer. In the year 2024, the number 1 is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. The infectious diseases are gone by the wayside for the most part. Point being, we can do something about disease when we put our minds to it. And he also, we got into a nice little discussion about coronary artery disease and how bad that is for us. And so in your package, you'll see a little information about know the difference, about the various types of heart disease things that are going on with you. And there's also some basics on being heart smart and how to try to take care of yourselves. Now, one of the reasons why we're here, because we know about coronary artery disease, and we know about getting plaques in the heart causing heart attacks and this sort of thing. But there's this newer disease. And I'm going to tell you, I graduated medical school in 1980. That's a long time ago. And that was back when the Egyptians and everybody else was still walking around treating people. That's how old ago that was. We had one drug, and that was it, and it worked real well. Yeah. But as we heard from Dr. Saraswat yesterday, there is an entity called ATTR, which is a variation on a form of amyloidosis, which is affecting the heart. We're really not certain how many people are having this problem because it's a relatively newer diagnosis, but we do know that there are a lot of people, particularly African Americans, who are being affected with this and are dying from heart-related problems because of ATTR. There's some really interesting symptoms. People have a myriad of things. All the time we think about heart disease, oh, it's just my heart. You remember Sanford, Elizabeth, I'm coming, he grabbed the heart. Yeah, well, now you got it. With this one, you got to grab your arm because you got carpal tunnel problems, eyes because we have problems as far as the eyes are concerned, abdominal digestive diseases, and also the heart issues. So we know that this is out there. And the problem is we have to be aware of what's going on, that this disease is there, and to seek care. So you'll see an interesting thing about what is ATTR. I really want you to look at that. We know one thing about this disease, that there is a certain genetic predisposition. There are changes in our genetic code that may increase our risk of developing this. Doesn't mean we will develop it, but means that there's a chance that we can increase our risk. So if you got family members that have heart disease, we want you to get tested for genetic testing. Now, this ain't talking about going out there getting that 23andMe thing or Ancestry.com. Those things are wonderful. You want to find out what part of wherever it is you think you are. If you really want to find out that you got more European in you than you thought you did, and that's going to explain why you can't dance like me, okay, well, there you go. But the big thing about this is genetic testing directed at trying to find medical causes of diseases. And so we heard a wonderful presentation from Rachel Campagne yesterday over there at University of Chicago about how this testing is done and what we do with this. So I strongly encourage, if you got a family history of heart disease, particularly if you've got a family history of somebody that's had ATTR, we want to get this testing. It doesn't mean you're going to die from this disease, but you want to know. Knowledge is information. Alter your lifestyle as far as what are things you can do to help prevent this. And to that end, today we're going to have a couple of really interesting things. And also, I don't know how many of y'all like to do exercises, but sometimes, it ain't fun. But, the older I get as a guy, I realize people ain't paying no attention to me no more. I don't know about how it is for you, Reverend. People ain't paying no attention. So I got to do some exercise to try to look good, man. Vanity works real well as a driver. I'm going to tell you right now. But Ms. Ladrissa Bonval is going to come in and tell us some things we can do to try to, simple exercises that we can do to try to keep us going, warming up to keep us fit for life. Then we're going to kind of switch. What are the things you do if you have heart disease? How do you, sometimes that's a real shocker to us all. What am I going to do? Okay, we heard from Ms. Haney yesterday, Keith and Cheryl Haney, about the changes that they had to make in their lifestyle to try to keep that. But we're going to talk a little bit about, Ms. Dina Jenkins is going to give us some little advice. And again, in your pamphlet, how living with heart disease, how to do that. How am I going to recover? What are the things we're going to do? She's going to give us some good advice and things that we can do about this. I'm going to pick on Dr. Sanders because yesterday he picked on fried chicken. Now, we sat here and talked bad about fried chicken. And what did we do? We went downstairs and ate fried chicken immediately after this meeting was over. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was good. It was good. I'm not going to lie to you. I had my piece of fried chicken. But nobody says you can't do something. It's just like you want to cut down your danger. What do? You walk across the street. How many of us just close our eyes and just start walking across the street? Nobody. But what you do is you keep your eyes open. You look and you see. You try to minimize your risk as best as you can. And you do the same thing with eating. We got to minimize it. Doesn't mean we can't have those things that make us feel good culturally and ethically. But you just can't do it every bloody day. You can't have fried chicken every day. It don't work that way. Even Colonel Sanders is dead. Okay? He knew. So we got to eat better, eat for our health. And Ms. Deja Ivy is going to go through that. And in your pamphlets, again, all this information is in those little wonderful little pamphlets everybody put together. There is stuff on tips on eating, how much you're going to eat, what kinds of foods you want to try to get. And I love this. Life is sweet. How to do things without having all that extra sugar and stuff in there. So we're going to hear all that. And so this is going to be a wonderful day. And then finally, we're going to have Miss Shamika Simmons going to tell us a little bit about what are those things we need to do to keep track of what's going on with our lives. So there's a nice little health tracker in here. How do we go about keeping ourselves healthy? So there's a lot of stuff. If you were here yesterday, you heard some good information. If you weren't, I hope I gave you a little summary of what we talked about and what we're going to talk about today. Because this program is about keeping us healthy. Keeping us healthy. If you're helping, you're going to help Reverend Morris keep this building alive, because it takes money to keep this building alive. If you're healthy, you can get out there and vote, keep me alive. And that's more important to me, all right? So we're going to all try to do something that's going to help each other. So before we begin, let's have a welcome from Mr. Stan Watson, former representative of the Georgia State Legislature and representative with HEAL Collaborative.
Thank you so much. Good morning. We can do a little bit better now. Good morning. We'd like to welcome you here this morning. Pastor Miller, thank you so much to the JLM Abundant Life Center for hosting us today. On behalf of HEAL, our staff, and also our board of directors, we thank you for coming this morning, and we hope that you will enjoy all the information that you're going to receive today. We have been traveling all around the country with HEAL, and AstraZeneca has been a very good help partner in what we do across the country for health diversity and equity in and around our African American communities, and especially with our faith-based communities. Some of you may say, well, what is important about the heart? And we're talking about the heart. So I see a lot of people here, and maybe you may bring this to their attention on tomorrow. The heart is mentioned over 862 times in the Bible, and you can check it if you want to. One of the most important ones in Scripture comes from Proverbs, say, above all things, guard your heart, for from it flows everything that you can do. So if we think about what we're doing with AstraZeneca today and the blood is flowing from your heart, it means we're doing everything we can do from our heart. And so we have to protect it. If you want to go a little further, I was teasing Steve this morning. Texas is going to lose to Georgia today. And the guys that are wearing shoulder pads, they wear shoulder pads for a reason, not just for their shoulders. But if you look at the shoulder pad, it covers the heart. Because from your heart flows everything. Evil, good, bad, and everything. So we're happy to have you here this morning. Sit back, relax, and get all the information that we can present to you this morning and have a great time in understanding what the heart does again. And we're going to turn it back over to our moderator.
Unfortunately, Mr. Watson probably played football before they had the real helmets. He might have been. I don't know when number 1 loses to number 6, but anyway, that's another story. We won't get into that, though. Most important things we can do for our heart. Again, we heard Dr. Sanders say this to us yesterday. Eat properly, eat properly, eat properly. But the number 2 thing is exercise and doing the right kinds of activities. And to try to get us all started with that today, we have Ms. Ladrissa Bonneville. And she's going to guide us through, I don't know what she's going to guide us through, to tell you the truth, but I know it's going to be funky. So let's bring her on up, Ms. Dreiser. Thank you, man. You need this or you just going to start? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I can use my outside voice or because I can't do what I got to do with the microphone. So I'm Ladrissa. Do you need to know anything about me? Let's see. I've been in health and fitness for 25 years. I own ProFit Studio on 37th in Indiana. I'm a retired pro athlete, and in my journey of health and wellness and fitness, I was also a yoga instructor, still am, for many years, and I also did a lot of senior fitness. So I'm not gonna make you sweat today. We're not gonna sweat, but we are gonna stretch a little bit. I'm gonna show you a couple of things that you can do in the morning if you're feeling your joints or after the career that I've had, all kind of things hurt in the morning. So I'm just gonna I'm telling you, I'm being real. I just turned 50 this year, but things still, I feel things. I'm stretching all the time. All right. So I'm gonna put the mic down, and I would love to have your participation. If you need a little bit of space from the person that's sitting next to you, you can like skip a seat if you like. What you need? You need me? The live stream, they can't hear me? With the mic. Without the mic. Got you. Hi at home. I didn't know I was on TV. Or can I have a mic stand? Oh, you gonna hold it for me? Then you're not gonna be able to exercise if you gonna hold it for me. Okay.
Got my way out that one.
Okay. I like this. Come closer. Come close. All right, here we go. So sitting in your chair, the first thing that I would love for you to do is, excuse me, ladies, even if you have on a little dress, open up, because what we're gonna do is sit towards the front of the chair, and we're going down to the floor. You're going to try to touch that floor. Awesome. Bring it back up. Bring it back up. Empty your hands. Empty your hands. Bring your legs out a little bit so your feet are nice and flat on that floor. Amazing. All right, now we're going back down again. Drop your chin towards your chest so the back of your neck can stretch. Let that stretch. And slow and easy come up. Now these exercises you can do at any time of the day. We're gonna take the hands to the knees, and when you do, push your chest way forward. Use your hands on your knees to allow your body to curve up, let your head go back, and close your teeth together. All right, we're gonna bring the chin in. We're going one more time, back down to the floor. Reach for it, reach for it. Take it down as far as you can go. See if you can get the fingertips, the hands down. Let your head relax when you get down so that the back of your neck stretches as well. And then slow and easy, we're gonna bring it back up. And then we repeat that, hands to your knees, use it as leverage. Lift, head up, back, open your chest. Awesome, bring it all together. Now we're gonna slowly let those legs come in together. If you need to scoot yourself a little bit more forward on your seat, that's fine. You're gonna go ahead and look at your left hand to the outside of your right knee, and then take your right hand and just place it over your heart, and then turn back and look over your shoulder. Look over your shoulder. All right, we're gonna bring it back around. We're gonna switch sides, switch hands, switch, turn back, look over. All right, now we're gonna take it bigger. Switch hands again. Now take that right arm straight up, look up. And then bring it down and switch sides. One of the biggest things that I notice is that as we start to age, our flexibility and our range of motion decreases. Right here in front of your chest, lace those fingers together, press it way out. Drop your chin into your chest, let your back curve, and bring it all the way up. And then grow an inch. Arms nice and straight, and then look up, teeth together again. Awesome. Slowly bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Sweet. Now, crossing the ankle up to your knee. A lot of people can't do that, and that's fine. See about crossing over. If you can take it up to the top, you do so. If not, here's your modification. I'm gonna show you what you do. Cross here, take your elbow and put it on your knee and give it some pressure. Give it some pressure. If you've crossed here, Take both hands, push, push. So either you're here or down low. Just give it some pressure. Feel that hip stretch, those joints. If that's a problem for you, this is a great stretch for you. The next one can be difficult is crossing the legs all the way over. If that is difficult, then you are back here again. If not, cross them, hands to your knees, and pull your chest up, head up again. Stretching that spine. Then we want to hold it and bring your chin into your chest. We hold things 3 to 5 seconds longer if you like. We're going to release and switch sides. We're going to release and switch sides. Push it down. Let it stretch. You can do this while you're watching television, before you get up in the morning. If you have mobility issues, this is a nice stretch to let your body know that, hey, it's time to start moving. Yes, sir. It's best to go lower.
The question was, what happens if you have a bad knee?
If you have a bad knee and you can still cross here, don't push at that spot, a little lower. You can also just take your elbow and give it a little pressure here. Yep, so if that, like, I have a couple things going on with this knee, but it doesn't hurt me to push it right here, but when it does, because sometimes it does, I just go lower and give it some pressure. All right, and then we're gonna cross it over. If you can't cross up top, cross down low, hands again, push, up, drop your chin to your chest. Use yourself against your leg. Give your upper back a stretch. And relax. Both feet are flat. Now for the forearms, I like to glide. Just take my hand, clamp, and push outward. Push outward. And make it bigger. So you start like at the elbow, and then maybe you come up towards your bicep, and then you get up to your shoulder, and you're just pulling it out, gliding. One more time on each side. You can do about 4 or 5 strokes. It depends upon, how much time you want to take, if this is a part of your morning routine or not. The next one, take both arms up. Now, on the right side, drop your hand as far as you can go. This can be another tricky one, but y'all are doing good. Now take that left hand and take hold of your elbow and give it a little bit of a pull over. Not a whole bunch. If it hurts, stop. Okay. Awesome. Easy switch. Extend the arms out. Switch sides. Give it a little bit. Give it a little bit. Awesome. If you have any questions, you can ask them as I'm moving through. Arms come up big, big, all the way down. Okay? My next one, I rub here too. I take my hands, push, push, push. Now, if you have lymphedema or gout, this way, up, up, up. You can do this coming out the shower. You can do this getting up. It doesn't matter. This touch, then I take my hands from the back, do the same thing, up, up. So if you have any kind of circulatory issues, you go up, pull it up, all the way through. All right? Now, we're getting ready to stand up, okay? So we're standing up. Awesome. Cool. Most of you have a chair in front of you. If you need that chair, use that chair. You can push. Now, don't let that chair get away from you. Don't let the chair get away from you. Awesome. Can you stretch a little bit more? Push that chair. There you go. So right now we're getting a good stretch in the hamstrings. Now you can also do this one on the wall. If you're like, the chair will make me fall, you can do this up against the wall. Now I'm gonna pull my chair in as I'm moving because I pushed it out. Use that chair. Push your chest up. Sometimes this might make you dizzy, so hold on to something if that's the case. But we want to open that chest, head up. Then right here, we're going to drop our chin to our chest. Let's take care of our head and neck. Make those circles around. Make them around. We're going to go 2 circles in both directions. If you need 4 or 5, you do that, 4 or 5. We're gonna do 2. I'm going into my counterclockwise position. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Awesome. Once you bring it in, head up. Now here's another one. If you can, we're gonna take our hand, reach for our foot behind us. So let me turn this way, like such. You got it? Awesome. Okay, no worries, no worries. If you're good here, test your balance. Just bring your hand up right here. Yeah, love it. Switch sides. That's a really good stretch for your quad. Let's switch sides. Yes, bend it. And still work on your balance. Lift your hand up. Awesome. Are you cheating over there? You are. All right, let it go. We have 2 more stretches. I feel like I can get 2 more in. Just 2 more? Okay, arms up. Now when you do this one, suck up. Suck up tall, grow an inch. Keep it up, head to your chest, chin to your chest, excuse me. Bring your head up. Drop those arms right in front of you. And we're gonna turn to the right, turn to your right. I'm turning to mine. And then turn to your left. Release it, bring it to the center. Last one, holding on, standing or sitting. You're gonna make these circles with your foot. Make these circles with your foot, 3, 4, 5, and then it's gonna feel like, ugh, but you're gonna go the other way. Okay, so that helps with the mobility in your feet and in your ankles. And switch legs, switch feet. Make that circle. Make that circle. Hit it in both directions. Whatever the number is, make sure you do it on the other side. Once you're done, shake it out. Assess your body. If you need more somewhere, do that. If not, get on and start your day. I thank you for your participation and your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye, TV land.
Hold on, sir. We're going away.
Okay.
So, real quick before you go, number 1, is this something we can do
Every
at
day.
work? And we can do this at work during the middle of the day. You know, some of us get tired and we say, I need to go get a coffee break. Is this something that's probably better than going to get that coffee?
Yes, absolutely, because you're going to put the cream and the sugar and the coffee and all of that. So I wear an Apple Watch, and my Apple Watch will tell me to stand up and move around. It doesn't happen often, usually when I'm on an airplane, because I'm moving around a lot. But for people who have a sedentary job, or they're just at home or doing whatever they do, and they're seated, something needs to trigger that, okay, I need to get up and move. And if you are reducing your coffee, make it a water break. Make it a water break. If you're in an office, go the long way. If you set a timer off, put the timer in another room that you have to physically get up and go and turn it off. Just kind of small things like that make a humongous difference in motion. And if you are tired while you're doing whatever you're doing, take 2 minutes and just hit a quick stretch, and you'll be amazed at how it brings the energy to your body and makes you a whole lot more alert.
Last question. What kind of shoes should we be wearing during all this?
So what we just did, you could be barefoot, you could be in heels, you could have on boots, whatever the foot wear that you're comfortable in. This could be house shoes, anything as long as you're comfortable and safe.
We did have a question from the guy with the bad knee. Go ahead.
All right. So you saying it's an app that we can download that will let us know we're sitting too long so we can get up and do something?
His question was if there's an app that will get you up. And there's several apps. I have an Apple Watch, it's built in, but and I don't have any names off the bat, but if you go and Google in your App Store or your Google Play Store, absolutely, you can download those apps onto your phone. And the last one, I do want to say that I believe it's called Water App. If you're not getting enough water on a daily basis and you need a gentle reminder or nudge, that one's a great one. Or just simply setting a timer on your phone that says water, and then you'll look at it and be like, oh, it's time for me to drink some water. That will also help to increase. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I tell you what, we got to move on to the program. How about Esther? Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
You got a YouTube page?
Oh, do you have a YouTube page? Wait a minute, how much is that a plant right there?
My YouTube page is Ladrissa Bonneville. I'm on Instagram, Super Body Coach, or you can find me via the studio, which is ProFit Studio Chicago. 3700 South Indiana. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Make sure you get out there. Another simple way to look at urine, look how frequently you're urinating and look at the color of your urine. If it's dark yellow, you're dry. If it looks like water, you got enough on board. If you're going less than, if you're going like 6-7 times a day, you're probably drinking enough unless you're diabetic. If you're only going 2 or 3 times a day and the urine is dark, you don't get enough water in you. All right, let's move on. Y'all are invigorated right now. I don't know about y'all, but I am. That was pretty good. So let's bring up Ms. Dineen Jenkins. She is a patient navigator. She's also the assistant clinical manager at Cardiac Fast Track, Cardiometabolic Wound Care and Diabetes Ambulatory Services, and an advocate at Trinity Hospital. She's going to talk to us a little bit about navigating care for your unique individual needs. Ms. Jenkins, thank you very much. I know you limber now, right? I know you're limber. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you. My name is Dineen Jenkins. I have been a nurse for 20 years. More than a nurse, I'm a person just like you guys. So when we talk about navigating the healthcare system, I have to do it too. So when there's a disease process that I don't understand, my mother had Alzheimer's, I didn't understand that, I had to navigate that. I fell once and dislocated my shoulder. I went to the doctor, I sat down, I had the whole plan, what I wanted to do. And he said, okay, if you would like for your shoulder to keep popping in and out, then we could do your plan or this one. So I don't want you to have the excuse of that I'm a nurse and can navigate the system, because I'm here to tell you that I'm just like you and I still have to navigate. So the title of this presentation or today's event is What's Breaking My Heart? I have some slides, I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead. So what's breaking my heart? So I told you I've been a nurse for 20 years. I see a lot of patients with a lot of different things, and plus in my own family. So I saw a 39-year-old last week who just got diagnosed with heart failure. That broke my heart. Last month, there was a 59-year-old who signed a DNR, do not resuscitate, because he had heart failure, diabetes, and now kidney disease. So he didn't want to live anymore at 59. So that breaks my heart. There's a 37-year-old who had a stroke at the age of 37. She had teenage kids who became healthcare providers in high school to help take care of their mom. At 39, because of depression and not moving from the stroke, she developed a clot in her leg and had to have her leg amputated. And at 41, she had a heart attack and died. And that was my sister. So that breaks my heart. My heart breaks for my family at home. My heart breaks for my family and my community. And I'm just out here to help the heart from stop breaking. So navigation. Okay, so navigation. It's just getting from one place to another, right? So you got to know where you are, and you got to know where you want to go so that you can navigate. So this picture is just the road. So it's a cloudy night, it's raining, you can't see, and you need to get home. You're out somewhere where you don't know where you're going. What do? You use GPS, you turn on your headlights, you might use Google Maps or Siri, you ask for directions, you might pull over and ask somebody for directions, you read the signs, you slow down at interchanges, but you have no choice, you gotta get home, right? You gotta get from point A to point B. The healthcare system is very similar. It's a crazy mess too. That's the healthcare system. So what are we gonna do? We got to still get from point A to point B. You can't use the excuse that I don't understand, because just like the car, when you're on the road, you didn't understand, but you had to figure it out. So the healthcare system is pretty much the same way. So we got insurance benefits, we got primary doctors versus specialists, we got medications, how many medications am I taking, what medication is for what disease process if you've got more than one. You got social services, you got mental health. Like I said, we didn't take care of my sister's mental health, and that was part of that problem. You got test results, and now you can get your medical records on your phone, right? So you can read them. You can see your test results. That's away from the time where you had to wait for the doctor to call you. You can see. You could arm yourself with knowledge on what those results mean and then communicate with your doctor. So you're either getting from age 30 to age 60, staying healthy, point A to point B, or you're sick and have some disease process and we want to get well, point A to point B. But we're moving. And you've got to be part of that movement. You've got to seek out the knowledge. You've got to figure out what we need to do. And then that last part is trust issues. So I know we have trust issues in our community, and we have to figure out how we can get around that. So there is a role in the hospital called patient navigation. I am not a patient navigator. I am a nurse as an assistant manager, but I navigate. I help patients navigate anyway. So what does that mean? I help support the patients that need assistance. We want to help you reach your goal. So you have to know what that goal is, right? I want to be able to tie my shoes. I want to run up and down the stairs with my kids. I want to not be short of breath. You've got to have a goal that you want to meet so that we can help you get there. So patient navigation is in most hospitals. It started in I think 1995 with cancer, but now it's almost in every disease process. So you being an active participant in your healthcare, you could say in your hospital, do you have a patient navigator to help you go through? There's also resources. So American Heart Association has a whole bunch of resources for your heart, for high blood pressure, for high cholesterol. You have Healthy Chicago 2.0. You have the Department of Health. You have your healthcare team. You have pharmaceutical companies that can help you pay for some of your medications, but you have to go onto that site. You have to reach out. You have to fill out the application. You have the National Heart and Lung and Blood Institute. You have Centers for Medical Care and Medicaid Services. You have the Heart Failure Society of America. You have American College of Cardiology. You have AARP and the Chicago Public Department of Health. All of these places have resources for you. So you have to just reach out and ask. If you don't understand, you say, I don't understand. As a nurse on the floor, the doctor will go into a patient's room and tell them everything and walk out. And 2 minutes later, the light will be on and I would go into the room and say, what you need? I didn't know what he was talking about. But they will tell you. I don't mind telling you either, but what if you're in the clinic and you don't have a me? You've got to learn to talk to the doctors. They're human, just like you. They put one leg in their pants at a time, just like you. They have families that they have to take care of, just like you. And if we go back to my example of my shoulder, because I heard someone else who had a torn rotator cuff and I had the whole process wrong, my doctor listened to me patiently and let me tell him my whole entire plan before he said, okay, if you want to, but this is what's gonna happen if you go your way. And if we have surgery, this is what's gonna happen. So it was my right shoulder. My right shoulder is better than my left shoulder. I took his advice. I had the surgery. I stayed home and healed for 12 weeks like I was told to do. I had my cardiac, you guys have cardiac rehab. I had my rehab for my shoulder like I was supposed to. And this shoulder is better than this shoulder. This shoulder aches when I do this. This is the one that was damaged and beat up, 4 muscles torn. The difference is that I actually said, I had a conversation with him. He knew what my plan was and could help guide me a different way, right? So I saw you shaking your head. You just gotta say, I don't understand. They will sit there and listen to you. But what happens is, well, then you change your doctor. Okay, so what happens is when you say, I understand, they leave. They're not going to push to change the language. They're not going to push to make sure you understand. You said, I understand. They left. You have to say, no, I don't understand. Could you explain that to me? You have to say, what are the resources when you leave? You have to say, I'm going to take questions at the because I get lost. I talk a lot. I get lost. So you have to say that. You have to advocate for yourself. That's part of navigation. I would love to stand here and tell each individual person and give you something on paper for every resource, but everybody's different. Somebody's got diabetes and hypertension. Somebody's got high cholesterol and heart failure. Someone's got some clogged arteries. And those are all different resources. So you have to know where you are and where you want to go. And then ask for the help in between to help you get there. Make sense? Okay. And the doctors work for you. So it's good doctors, it's bad doctors. There are good nurses, there are bad nurses. There's good pharmaceutical reps and bad pharmaceutical reps. There's good preachers, there's bad preachers. You have a choice of where you sit and who you talk to. Your doctor and your healthcare team should be asking you your goals and helping. My father is 82. A couple of years ago, he was having a hard time navigating the system. The problem was that he was with a primary doctor and not a geriatric doctor. So we had to change that. So I had to take him to a geriatric doctor, first appointment. Daddy, what do you want? I want to live till be 100. Doctor, can you help him get there? He said yes. My job done. I left. I ain't had to go to another doctor's appointment. They're clear on the goals. Okay, so the next one, you are empowered. That is my job today, is to come out here and tell you that you are in control. It is your life. It is what you want to do. You have to make informed choices, and they're not informed if you don't understand. How do you make a choice about your body if you don't understand? When your kids went to college, you got knowledge about each different college and their specialties and what your kid wanted to specialize in and which was the best college to go to, right? To make choices, you have to be informed. You have to create a relationship with your health team. That's so important. Any good relationship has communication, understanding, and trust. If you don't keep your doctor's appointments, how do you expect to develop a relationship with your healthcare team? If you're not if you're not going to do the recommended treatment and not tell him that you're not going to do it, how can he help you? You have to say, I don't want to do that. He might got options. But you left and said, I'm going to take that cholesterol pill and went home and didn't take it. So you got to have a relationship. You have to commit to following the treatment plan, and you have to take responsibility for your care and take preventative measures to maintain your health. So in this picture is all the people that's part of your team. We're a team. I'm in it with you. You're not alone, but you got to utilize the team. You're in the middle. Your doctors and nurses shouldn't say, you got to do this, 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 this. They can say, you should do this, and this will be the outcome. But if you want to do it your way, this will be the outcome. And now you're informed and can make a decision. Okay, this is what the navigation process should look like. I talk a lot. Am I good on time? Okay. This is what the navigation process should look like. An ideal navigation system is prevention first. You should be going to your doctors. You know, how many of us go to the doctor once a year? We all should be going at least once a year. If you got a disease process, more than that. But if you healthy, at least once a year. Because if you go once a year, you're preventing disease, you have early detection, you can get diagnosed, you can get treatment, and then you survive. Okay, so your annual checkups are important. And I think I'm in a room full of Christians, so I'm going to say James 2:26 says, for as the body without spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. So when we get sick and we're in the ICU and we praying for God to help us and give us a miracle, we could use that same prayer to say, Lord, help me stay healthy. Lord, take care of this doctor that I'm about to go to. Give him what he needs. But you got to go to the doctor. That's your work. So you can't just have the faith and the prayer without the works, what you have to do. All right, just a quick, I know I'm almost on time. Reasons why we delay. Why don't we go to the doctor? 23%, this was from Kaiser Institute, 23% of women couldn't find time to go to the doctor. 19% couldn't take time off work. 15% had problem getting child care. 9% had transportation problems. And guess what? All of that don't matter when you're sick, right? The kids, the job, none of that. Men don't go until 40% don't attend annually. 12% only go for their first step when they have health issues. And now we got to fight the problem instead of preventing the problem. You are a priority. You got to put yourself first. Last slide is, I couldn't leave without talking about the mistrust that we have. It's a big issue in our community. And I'm going to go back to the Bible, is where's your faith? I know what we've been through or what our ancestors been through. My father's 82. He was born in 1942. He tells me about racism and segregation and how care is different from one population to the. He tells me. He lived it. I talk to him. I see it. But again, what are we going to do? You're not going to go to the doctor because you distrust or mistrust? Okay, so my people perish for lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6. And what good is it for you to say you have faith, but don't show your actions? James 2:14. Your actions are you going to your doctor and talking to your healthcare team. Thank you.
No, sorry. Yes, ma'am. We have a question, please.
I just honestly, I just want to add to what you're saying. There are two parts to that, especially about motivating and encouraging the patient to go out. But there's also a side to where, hey, you're bringing to a doctor everything about you and you're still dismissed. That is what they're experiencing. That's what I experienced. This is 2023 and this is 2024 that's happening out there. These are medical experiences. It's not just from the past that we are experiencing that. That's happening right now. I have hidden things within me, overlooked. And how fair is that? I'm seeing every doctor, any doctor I need to, going into spaces. They don't know how to understand my conversation of what's going on with me being in tune with my body. You got people that experience.
It's a very good point you raised.
So you're right. We was just discussing about stereotypes, and it's still alive today, that some providers will look at patients who come to the emergency room a lot and stereotype them versus a patient who goes to the doctor. And so when you have those stereotypes, you get the kind of care that's dismissive that you're speaking of.
So the question was pointing out, adding with doctor guidance, things still happen. The real question also we ought to ask is when you're referred to go for rehabilitation, given what was just said and what you were saying in your presentation, how do we determine what's a good rehab program? What are the things we should look for?
So again, depending on what it is. When my father had a stroke, I called all the rehabs that his insurance said he could go to. I called each and every one. I said, how often do you do exercises here? What are you doing? Speech, physical therapy, occupational therapy? How long are they? And I picked the one that did therapy 6 days a week. They had hour therapies for each one. But it was still limited to his insurance.
Point being taken, there are many locations where you can go get rehabilitation. I think the important thing is to have, I think you pointed out, have that discussion with our healthcare provider, look at one who's compatible with what our needs are, and stay with that individual. Thank you very much, Ms. Jenkins. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we started off with having some really good information about exercise, moving around, and we heard yesterday again talking about eating properly. The real question sometimes comes in, how do I eat properly? And sometimes there are obstacles, like is there good food around where we are? How do we cook material? Well, to try to answer these kinds of questions for us, we have Ms. Deja Ivy. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist. She's also a published researcher. She has been selected as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Foundation Leadership Scholar in January of 2023. Congratulations, by the way, Ms. Ivy. She's going to give us a talk about what to eat and how to prepare it.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you here today, and hello to everybody at home. We'll be talking a little bit about nutrition and how to eat for a heart-healthy diet. I got a phenomenal question earlier today. They said, what is your goal with your talk today? And I said, I really want people to feel empowered that a heart-healthy diet is within reach. It's often said, and it is true, that healthier foods can be more expensive. They're difficult to prepare. It takes a lot of time. So I'm hoping to give you guys some practical tips that you can take home with you about how to incorporate a more nutritious diet. And we'll get started. Go to the next slide. So a little bit about me, Deja, the dietitian. I received my bachelor's from Life University, which is located in Marietta, Georgia, and my master's in health sciences from Georgia State University. And I have clinical training from Grady Hospital, where I did critical care, Piedmont Hospital, and Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, the diabetes clinic there. I'm also affiliated with Emory University Healthcare and Fresenius Medical Care. So a little bit about my background. Very familiar with talking with people about nutrition. So before I start talking, I would love to hear from you all. What do you all think is in a heart-healthy diet? What's important to eat? Feel free to yell at me. Okay. Oh, no, I'm just interacting and asking them what a heart-healthy diet is if we get some responses. Less carbs? Okay, absolutely. We're in a society where carbs are in everything, so we can definitely cut back on that. What else is in a heart-healthy diet? Leafy greens, absolutely. Vegetables. What else? Sorry.
Just raise your hand.
Healthy proteins. Ooh, I like that. That's a perfect qualifier. What are some of our healthy proteins, by the way? Fish, chicken, lean meats. Okay, what else, people? Water intake, absolutely. And there's actually some myths around water intake when it comes to heart health, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about a few diets that are often recommended for a heart healthy diet. Let's talk about the Mediterranean diet first. Who here has heard of that? Okay, awesome. What are some components you guys have heard about the Mediterranean diet? What should you be eating? Vegetables, wine, yep. It used to be recommended that a small amount of red wine is good for your heart. There's now research saying that any amount of alcohol is toxic. So I'll leave that up to you all because there's conflicting research there. But absolutely vegetables. What else is in a Mediterranean diet? Healthy grains. Okay, and then usually seafood. So like fish and things from the Mediterranean Sea. So that's one recommendation we've had for some time. Another diet that's often recommended by dietitians is called the DASH diet. Who here has heard of that one? Okay, not as many people. So it actually stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And we all know that hypertension has to do with high blood pressure, and it's very closely related to our heart health. So one of the things that we can do with trying to be on the DASH diet is reducing our sodium intake. And we know that sodium is in almost everything, right? And we'll talk a little bit later about reading a nutrition label and to be able to recognize that. But let's do a little guess. How much sodium do you think we're allowed to have in a day? And I'll start you off with a tip that it's measured in milligrams or grams, but this is a good question. Any thoughts? 1,800 milligrams, that's a great guess. I like that. Any other thoughts? What did you say? No more than a teaspoon. Actually, yes, that's very close. They recommend having less than 2 teaspoons of salt per day. And if you look at that middle image, it actually shows you how to measure how much salt you should have in a day. It's the tip of your index finger. Some other helpful tips, because it's known that obesity is really prevalent in the United States and it is associated with poorer heart health, is our portion sizes and making sure that we're not eating too much. So I'm gonna show you guys a really cool, quick trick to be able to do that. So starting with the palm of our hand, I feel like you guys know this. What does this represent? The amount of protein we should be eating per serving. It's perfect. We already talked about the tip of the index finger being the amount of butter or sodium you should have in a day. A handful, like clenched fist, is how much rice you should have for a serving, which is often something we eat a little bit too much of. And then if you were to close your hand this way, this is a handful of seeds, nuts, that's a portion size. And then lastly, it looks like we have a tip of our thumb for the amount of butters we should be eating. Okay. So next, let's talk about serving sizes for fruits. Because I know many people who struggle with hypertension or heart disease also can struggle with diabetes. And so it's important that we understand and we measure the amount of fruit that we have. So let's do some quick tips and tips. So nowadays, we see that fruit is pretty oversized, right? And I know we have a mixed population in here. So I would say some of our more seasoned adults, do you remember when fruit used to be smaller, right? You know, the size of an apple was maybe the size of your fist. Now it looks more like what? Grapefruit? That's multiple servings, right? And so I think sometimes we get really confused because we're saying we're eating, you know, healthy things. We're eating a lot of fruit, but it might be too much because the food is just so big. So we have a small apple, which is about the size of your fist. A large banana is a cup of fruit. 1 medium grapefruit. 1 slice of watermelon. Y'all will have to tell me if you've ever seen someone do that, because everyone I know does not eat 1 slice of watermelon. So that's something to keep in mind. 2 large plums or 8 strawberries. Okay. Other things we should think about with a heart healthy diet. So up there we have our nuts, our fruits, our vegetables, our whole grains, our lean meats. And then lastly, let's talk about water, because at the bottom it says drink lots of water instead of sodas and juices. Very true, we should do that. Let's actually go to the next slide. Yes. So a little comment about water. So if anyone in here has heart failure, or you're someone that retains water, let's say you have gout, you're seeing swelling in your feet, swelling in your hand, you actually don't want to drink too much water because your body is telling you that you're retaining it. And that can lead to other issues like shortness of breath or too much fluid around your heart, things that aren't so good. So keep that in mind with the water intake. I definitely recommend speaking to your physician about how much water you should be drinking if you're someone who retains fluid. If you're someone who does not retain fluid, definitely drink a lot of water. It helps all of our cells take in those nutrients. It helps the nutrients to circulate with our bodies. So it's really important. Let's talk about what foods we should avoid. So dietitians get a really bad rep. We're told we're the food police because we like to take away all of your foods. But instead, I would like to give you a stance of, let's talk about what foods we should moderate. Maybe foods that are really tasty that we're used to, that we need to cut back on a little bit more because they're not helping us, right? So I'll open it up to you guys. What do you think some of those foods are that we should be watching? French fries, yep. I love French fries too, it's true. Yes, ma'am, in the back. Fried foods, period, absolutely, fried foods. What else should we be cutting back on, guys? Sugar, yes. Yes, sir. Pizza, What'd you say? Butter, yep, too many fats. Absolutely, so those processed foods, things that come in a box or a can, we do wanna watch out for, right? So when we think about walking to the grocery store, usually the perimeter has a lot of those fresh fruits and vegetables, those lean meats. That's really where we want to spend the bulk of our time shopping. And then down those aisles, you know, you have all the boxes and the cans. One of the ways that they preserve that is adding a lot of sodium, which is something we want to cut back on, as well as preservatives, chemicals, GMO. I mean, you can name it. It's probably in there to make sure that it's okay. So eating fresher fruits and vegetables. Now I know that inflation is real and costs are real. So I want to encourage you that frozen vegetables are also a great option, as well as canned vegetables if you rinse them to get some of that sodium off. Okay. Go back one more slide. And we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna talk about nutrition labels, okay? And I'll just give you guys a couple tips because they're not the friendliest. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of calculations, but I'll give you 3 to take home that are really, really helpful. So the first is looking at the serving size. If you look at our example on the right, their serving size is usually listed right under that major label nutrition facts, and it tells you how much is in for that serving. So in this example, it's 2/3 cups. I'll make a different example. Let's just say it's half a cup, right? A little bit simpler, or 1 cup. From there, you'll know how many calories are in that one serving. But what we normally do is we don't measure, right? So whether you have measuring cups at home or you use your hand, you wanna make sure that you're measuring out what is appropriate. So we wanna look at the calories, of course. The next thing that's important to look at is the amount of sodium. A good tip is if there's more milligrams of sodium than the amount of calories, it's probably too high in sodium. You'll notice that with chips and a lot of these other processed foods, that the sodium content is very, very high. And then lastly, you wanna look at the percent daily value. That gives you an idea of how much is present compared to how much you're supposed to have in a day. So if you see something and it's 50% of the daily value or 100%, that means whatever you're eating, that's probably all you should have of that for a day, whether that's a slice of cake or something else. All right, we'll go to the last slide for some helpful tips. So things that we can do to save money and also help us plan going to the grocery store. If you're someone that's not in the kitchen a lot, it can be overwhelming. You gotta get all the food, you gotta get in the kitchen, you gotta have all the right tools, you gotta make sure the recipe comes out right. It can be overwhelming. So let's go over some things we can do to help ourselves out. The first thing you can do is take inventory at home. I think sometimes when people get on a health kick, they want to throw everything out, and that's a lot of money wasted. Instead, you can take inventory of what you have and round out your meals to be healthier. So that also segues right into meal planning for the week. One of the ways you could do that, so let's say at home you have a bag of white rice. Instead of going with whatever you have at home, you could add in something from the DASH diet, like a canned or fresh vegetable, some healthy fats like olive oil, things of that nature. It's very helpful to make a shopping list, to use store reward cards and coupons. Shopping in season is usually cheaper, especially when it comes to our fresh produce. And then freezing our leftovers and repurposing our leftovers. There have been plenty of times where I make a batch of vegetables. I'm not gonna eat it all in one day. I may not even eat it that week. You can throw it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it and save yourself a lot of money. And then on our left side, we'll go over some other tips. So you wanna compare your prices. Usually store brand products are cheaper than the brand ones. You can use coupons. You can buy in bulk, especially if you have a membership card to Costco or Sam's. Save with seasonal produce, I'll say that again. And don't check out at the checkout. I mean, to this day, I still pick up items and whatever it said it was in the aisle, you go there and it's something totally different. So just keeping an eye on that. I really appreciate your guys' time today, and I want to open it up for any questions. It was great being here.
All right, do we have any? One thing, if you would, please, that showing the nutrition label, I think, was so important because that can be somewhat confusing. So would you kind of guide us also about looking out for heavily processed foods? And are these necessarily good for us, or are they going to have some deleterious effects?
Yes, so I think the best analogy, again, is thinking about that grocery store. So in the perimeter, like I said, we have our fresh fruits and vegetables and our meats, things that we know will give us nutrients, right? Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And then in those aisles, those processed foods, they tend to have a lot of sodium. They need something to preserve it. Chemicals, dyes, high calorie, they're just not the best for us. And it's similar with going through the drive-through. I always like to tell people, remember that food is a business. So when you're going to buy, they want to give you something tasty so you come back. They're not looking out for your health. So those are two good examples of processed foods.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. I'll be right over there to you. Watch your leg there, James. All right. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, do you recommend vitamin supplements? Because I've been taking them for a couple of years now, and they do make me feel better.
Yes.
So I'd like to know your...
I always say talk with your physician. For example, I practice as a renal dietitian, and if you're someone on dialysis, you can't have all the vitamins that normally are on the shelves. So always speak with your physician first. But secondly, they can be helpful. If you're lacking any nutrients and you take a vitamin or a supplement and it repletes it for you, you can feel a lot better. So I say, with the advice of a doctor, go for it.
But there's also the contrary point of view, that if we are eating properly and we're taking in the foods that we should, remember, these are supplements. So if we're getting in our foods, we don't need those things. So how do we know, again, it's going back to that nutrition label, how can we be sure that we're getting in the vitamins in the quantity that we should? Just looking at that, tell us about that.
Eating a natural diet, foods that are not in a box or a can will give you nutrition. But sometimes we don't quite get to the diet that we see ourselves being at because of access issues, because of money issues, and in those situations, supplements are great. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Hold on.
I also want to add that you do want to be in tune with your doctors about what you're able to absorb. Like me, I'm not able to absorb iron.
Yep.
So understand if you have a deficiency within your body, that those vitamins will help. And that way, even if you are eating, sometimes what we're eating isn't enough because of how our bodies are processing what we're eating, that vitamin can be a push. So do be informed about your vitamins.
Yes. And to her point, when you go to see your physician, you can ask them to run labs and you can see about your micronutrients like iron.
And also some medications that we take can also block the absorption of some vitamins and things and or minimize their effect. Thank you very much, Ms. Allen. Thank you. He's a busy man, and he's taking some time to come down here and visit with us. So let's take just a couple of minutes here, a few words from Alderman Jason Irvin. Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you, and glad to be here today to talk on these subjects. When we look at, especially here on the west side of Chicago, we have a lot of challenges around disease and other factors that really are around what we do, what we eat, and where we go. So I'm very grateful that the center decided to do something around heart and heart healthiness, as heart disease is one of the leading causes of sicknesses, disease, and death here on the west side of Chicago. I tell people this all the time, that communities West Garfield, Austin, East Garfield, and North Lawndale lead the city in a negative way in almost every health stat you could think of. When you look at our community, Roseland on the south side and Inglewood and the west side communities, we lead in just about every negative stat that's out there. We call this the death gap. The life expectancy of someone in Garfield Park is 13 years less than someone who lives in Lincoln Park. Now, mind you, 3 miles away, life almost a generation of difference. So we've got to be cognizant and careful in what we're putting in our bodies and what we're doing with our bodies so that we can live that same healthy lifestyle that other people are living. I know it's hard. They make it easy for us not to live healthy. It's easy for us not to live healthy. But again, I lost about 70 pounds because my doctor asked me, he asked me, I don't know too many 70-year-olds over 400 pounds. And he asked me how old my daughter was. And he did the math real quick for me and that put it in perspective. So again, we've got to do something as a community around health, around what we're eating. We're not in the cotton fields anymore, working 15, 16 hours a day, and we don't have to eat like that. So I think we have to understand what we're doing to take better care of our bodies so that we can be around and have that longevity that other communities have. Thank you.
Alderman has a couple of minutes. So what if you could help us? One of the things, and I'm just asking your opinion. One of the things we notice in African-American communities, we look at the food choices that we have. We have a plethora of fast food joints, and this is not to castigate those businesses, but we do tend to have a higher concentration than others. What can we do about that and try to bring in better nutritious options available to us? I'm going to assume it's not a concerted plan on anybody, but how do you shape that mindset for us?
I do think we pay more money for less quality when you think about it that way. One of the things that the city has done and one of the things that we've done is working. We reopened a grocery store. The community in Garfield Park literally had no option for fresh fruits, vegetables, groceries. You have convenience stores, you have highly processed foods, high sodium, high sugar type foods. And that's what our kids are eating. You see kids in the morning, they get in a bag of hot Cheetos and an orange juice, Tang or something, and that's breakfast. That's not normal. We've normalized negative behavior to the point where people, that's how they grow up, that's how they live. It's on us as elders in the community to try to provide better options for our young people. And it's on government as well to provide healthier options by creating grocery stores. One of the things that Mayor Johnson's been talking about is where business won't go, we as government must go and establish these types of co-ops and exchanges so that people can have fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, healthier choices in their eating. Now, we did spend $13 million on 6 grocery stores in the city of Chicago, in some of our most challenged communities, with Garfield Park being the first one that it came to open a store that you can get the fresh fruits, the fresh vegetables. And, the thing that we've been trying to tell people is that they got to shop there in order for the store to remain there. But again, it's so easy to get the White Castle burger or the McDonald's burger or to pop something in the microwave. We got to kind of, take a step back and go back to cooking meals at home or buying healthier options in the community.
Mm-hmm. We'll take one final question over here. Be right to you, man.
So thank you. I'm glad we're trying to open up healthier options in our communities. But what are we doing about the education? Because again, like you said, those stores will close if we don't go there. But if we're offering like whole food things that we've never used almond flour, we don't know how to use that, so we're not buying it. We don't know all of the vegetables that are offered there. We know greens and carrots and peas, you know, the other stuff, the squash and other things. Are we doing some education on the food, how to prepare the food, how to purchase the food, and then what the food will do for you if you do?
I'm gonna give you Deja Ivy's phone number so we can
No,
pass that on there.
to be honest with you, no, we're not doing enough. Generally, when people know better, they do better. Generally, right? But we don't know. You ask somebody you put 3 things and ask them to pick the asparagus out. If you've never had asparagus, you've never experienced asparagus, you have no idea what it is and its value is, right? So there is an education component that has to go along with that. And unfortunately, you know, they talk about this. I never really conceptualized this in school, but I understand it clearly today that Maslow's hierarchy of needs is real, right? We have to get some basic stuff down first. It's hard to have a conversation with somebody about eating healthy when they have nothing, right? So we've been given junk just to pacify us so that we can have something, but it's the same thing that's killing us. Now that we're at a base level where we're not, you know, starving, we can have a conversation about, yeah, we need to eat this asparagus instead of, you know, eating something else, or, you know, you can have a different conversation. But the educational component, I do believe, is necessary, and I wholeheartedly believe it has to be with our young people or with our kids in the schools, that they need to learn. There's a whole lot of life skills that we're not teaching our young people, everything from healthy eating to even how to balance a checkbook. So there's some very basic things I think that we need to begin to work with our young people on, because that is where it's going to happen. That our older people knew. It was my generation that got lost in the shuffle. We started popping stuff in the microwave, and then we all look like, you know, we just stepped off a Fat Albert show. So I'm for real. It is what it is, though, you know. But we have to correct it. It's our responsibility to correct it. So.
Well, thank you very much, Alderman Irving. Thank you for. You know, Ms. Simon, I think he almost set you up for your presentation. So next we're going to have Ms. Shamika Simon, who's a community health educator at the Westside Wellness of Chicago. She's going to give us a presentation on addressing health-related social and supportive services need and wellness assistance and resources. Ms. Simon. He set you right up. Thank you.
Yes, he did set me up, actually. I was going to mention how, well, first I'll say my name, Shamika Simon. So I work as a community health educator, and I'm passionate about educating my community about the resources that we have when struggling with chronic disease conditions. Something that I wanted to address was the life expectancy from Lincoln Park compared to East Garfield. It's like a 15 to 16 year gap, what the alderman discussed. And that's traumatizing to know that a community that's like 5 to 6 miles has more like access to healthcare resources, food, housing, and they're able to live longer. But it's also a blessing for us to be able to look and analyze and see how we can advocate for ourselves and advocate for the things that we need in our community so that our communities can thrive. And if our communities thrive, then inside the home, we are able to thrive as well too. Children are able to see role models in these different areas, and they're able to see action. I'm a mom of 4 and I'm 38, and I look at how kids they don't pay attention to what you say, they pay attention to what you do. And whatever I do, that's what they follow. They don't follow what I say. So I make sure that before you get snacks, you're getting fruit, you're getting vegetables. And I noticed that from doing that, they ask for it. You know, it's their first option. It's what they want, it's what they crave. So they eat fruit like it's candy. And I'm okay with that. But I wanted to go into talking about addressing health-related social needs for improved community wellness. So I appreciate you all for being here today. This topic matters a lot because when we think about health, we often focus on physical symptoms or medical treatments. But in reality, factors like housing, education, food security, and access to care are just as vital to overall well-being. So how many of you all know how to get access to resources in your community? Can I get a show of hands? Okay. How many of you all actually discuss with family, friends, co-workers about the access in the community? Okay, that's a good number of hands. So these key related social needs that include housing and neighborhood safety, unsafe or stable housing can lead to stress and poor health outcomes. Individuals experiencing homelessness or unstable housing are 2 to 4 times more likely to suffer from chronic health conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension compared to those with stable housing. A study published in Health Affairs found that individuals with housing instability are 55% more likely to be hospitalized or visit emergency rooms due to a lack of access to preventive health care. So we know that having access to social needs such as housing, food access, medication, it tends to provide us with longevity and also increase our life expectancy. It gives us actually a better quality of life. The issue I have is that I don't think we're sharing enough within our community about the resources that are in our community. You know, I think a lot of us complain about what's not in our community, but we're not getting out to actually see what's in our community to really help our community become better. So my role as a community health worker is to serve as a liaison and to link community residents to those resources that will aid them into having longevity, finding out where they can go pay their rental services or electric bill or get assistance with food pantry or housing, because those things matter regardless of what your income is because of the economy that we stay in or that we live in. So something I wanted to do was I wanted to have everyone pull out their phones, and we're going to do a little activity. I'm going to pull up a website called findhelp.org. So if everyone can pull out their phones and go to findhelp.org, I'm going to have it pulled up on the screen up here. Okay. And just look up at me when I know that you actually have it on your cell phone, but you can see it on the screen as well too. Okay, so findhelp.org is actually a website where it says find free or reduced cost resources like food, housing, financial assistance, healthcare, and more. So what I like about this website is that you can put in your zip code where you stay, and then a lot of different resources pertaining to food, housing, shelter will actually come up. So we'll just type in, what is that, 60612 or 60624, 60651. That's what, near West Side, North Lawndale, Austin. So whichever one you want. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll click on, you can click on anyone. So what is that? So that's health. I think is that health? Wait. Yeah, health. So as you click on each category, which is cool about this, you click on each category and it actually takes you to subcategories. So whatever you're looking for or whatever you're in need of, you're able to connect with a resource, whether it's an organization, whether it's a person that has the service, and you can literally get the website, you can get the number and the hours of services where what they have. And as you can see, when we first went to the website, it shows that there's over like 51 million people that uses the site. And you also can go and download the app as well too. So it's a great way to actually play with the website. I mean, you can think of anything that you need a resource for. And literally, you're able to find the resource, call them, and see how they can service you. So to truly promote wellness, we have to consider the broader picture. Health doesn't just happen in doctors' offices. It starts in our homes, our schools, and our communities. So we basically need to start advocating for more services in our community because it's very important. Also, I encourage everyone in the room to think about your social needs and how they may be affecting your health. We all come from different backgrounds, social economic background. We are very colorful in this room, but I really feel like our social needs affect us all, you know, and it's good to do, just as well as good to do a body scan every day for what you may need in your day. It's good to do a social needs scan about, you know, what you may need, because you may be making a nice income today, and then next week your income may have changed. So you may need to use a website like findhelp.org to help you to that would allow you to make ends meet. And also doing these things and basically focusing on like our social needs and our overall wellness would actually allow us to advocate for ourselves and actually increase our life expectancy as well too. So, do I still have a little more time? Okay. So another thing I wanted to do was encourage everyone to reach out to your Chamber of Commerce, reach out to your church, reach out to food pantries within your area. There's like so many different organizations that are just out here trying to help people. Don't be afraid to Google. Don't even be afraid to use ChatGPT if you need to. You can find every and anything online. I actually have a list of, and churches are always a good place to start as well too. Your children's schools, as well as like nonprofit organizations. You have like Catholic Charities, you have the Salvation Army, you have United Way. You can also dial 211 here in Chicago as well, and you're able to talk to someone like a representative that will help you to find different community health resources in your area as well too. So thank you for your time.
If you could answer just a couple of questions, if anyone has them. I know one that I have. When looking at a big list, like one of the things that Jasmine had said to us earlier, you know, that compatibility is a big issue. So how do we actually rate these things if you're going to these services, and how do we know, you know, this really is the one I need to be in?
Well, some of the services that you may pull up when you type in your zip code, I believe they have like people leave comments or something like that, and then they'll give you their hours. And then too, it's like you can even call them and just ask them honestly, like, what are your hours? What type of services do you offer? Because another thing about using the internet for community resources is it can say one thing on a website, but then when you call them, it's something different, you know? So in that sense, we still have to advocate for ourselves when we are searching the websites, as well as calling the people to ask them, what do you do for, because it's a reason that they're here, you know? So.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to bring up, it's always good. We were talking just a few minutes ago about vitamins and, what vitamins, supplements should we take, and also when we're taking various medications, how some of these things may adversely impact one medication may adversely impact another medication. And consequently also, let's face it, medicines get a little costly, and we got to decide, am I going to pay for heat? Am I going to pay for food? Am I going to pay for, we all know the drill. So what about cutting that pill in half? Am I helping myself or am I putting myself at ease? We have a PharmD with us over at Cook County still?
Yeah.
So Dr. Tricia Shaw is going to kind of answer a couple of these questions for us. She was kind enough to come by and drop a little knowledge on us. So go ahead. As you know, as the pharmacist is always the one we turn to for the final word on drugs. Speak on, ma'am.
All right, no problem. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me here. My name is Dr. Tricia Shaw, and I am a clinical associate professor at Chicago State University's College of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in the Department of Pharmacy Practice. I am an ambulatory care pharmacist, and my practice site is with Cook County Health. I service 2 clinics. One is an anticoagulation clinic where I monitor warfarin therapy or blood thinner therapy, and then my other clinic is a family medicine clinic in Inglewood, so that at the Inglewood Health Center, which is on 69th and May. A little bit about me. I am a native Chicagoan, grew up on the west side of Chicago, attended Whitney Young High School, went to Loyola University Chicago for my bachelor's, and then attended UIC for my Doctor of Pharmacy degree. In addition, I've been in the field of pharmacy for 26 years now. Started out as a pharmacy technician at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Streeterville. Currently still a casual or PRN pharmacist with them on the weekends when I'm not at Chicago State or Cook County Health. So my role as thank you. Thank you. I'm a little few and far between. Everyone is always like, oh my God, you're probably the first pharmacist of color that I've seen. It still happens, even though there are a lot of us here in the city of Chicago, but a lot of my colleagues are actually in the community setting, at your Walgreens, at your CVS. And unfortunately, we were talking about earlier, in terms of our neighborhoods or the neighborhoods that are highly populated with African American individuals, those are what we term as food deserts. In addition, because they don't have a grocery store within a mile of their home, in addition, those neighborhoods also tend to be what we call pharmacy deserts. There have been a lot of those chain community stores closing their retail stores within our communities, creating what is known as a pharmacy desert, where individuals have to go further than a mile to actually receive their medications. And so for individuals who may have different chronic disease states, this is very difficult for them to obtain their medications. And so with the, I want to say, conglomerate that some of these companies are, the preference is to get you to utilize their mail order resources. And for some individuals, that just may not be possible. And so in terms of what I do in my current practice as an ambulatory care pharmacist with my patients at the family medicine clinic, I'm looking for lower cost options or options that are more affordable with the insurance that they actually have. So a lot of our patients, they are utilizing County Care as their primary insurance, as well as the different insurances that are affiliated or contracted with Medicare and Medicaid. And so that sometimes makes affording the latest and greatest treatments a little bit difficult. So how do we kind of navigate that? We navigate that utilizing different patient assistance programs, you've heard of, GoodRx, and what's the other one? I can't think of the guy who played Martin Sheen. He does the one, does the commercial on TV. I can't think of it right now, but we use typically GoodRx to help individuals find out what locations will have their medications at a lower cost. Then depending on what type of insurance you have, if you have a commercial insurance, there are different savings programs that are available specifically for those individuals, as well as discounts available. In terms of some of the things that I heard of earlier in terms of our utilizing vitamins for supplementation, it's always important to talk to your physician, especially for our patients who are on specific blood thinners like warfarin. A lot of those supplements can interact with the warfarin therapy, making it either less effective or making it more toxic for you. So you can either increase your risk of bleeding or increase your risk of having a clot depending on that particular supplement. So whenever I have someone who comes in and they're like, oh, we started this new supplement. Where is it? What does it look like? Let me see what the nutrition, similar to food packaging, all of your supplements, they will have kind of like that content on the back. And I'm like, okay, there it is right there. This is why your number is off. So I give them recommendations what they should do with that vitamin. If they feel very strongly about it, keep taking it. I'm gonna have to change your medicine, but if that's gonna make you healthy, go ahead, keep taking it. I can make the adjustments. Other things that I do in terms of the family medicine clinic, I review medication profiles in order to make sure that all of the medications that the patients are on are, that those doses are safe for them, that they are effective for them. How are they tolerating those medications? Are their lab values appropriate for those particular medications? A lot of medications, specifically those that for your blood pressure, can increase certain levels, such as your potassium levels. We know elevated potassium levels can lead to certain things, can lead to heart arrhythmias. So we want to make sure that those levels are appropriate and therefore monitor patients every 3 to 6 months, depending on what medications they're on. Also make sure that there aren't any significant drug interactions for the patient. So if 2 medications are going to be interacting, I want to provide a recommendation to the providers that I'm working with. Okay, so this patient needs this medication and this medication. How about we change from this medication to this medication in order to mitigate any potential drug interactions for that patient? And so so for you guys, if you don't see me or one of my colleagues in the clinic, feel free to always ask one of my colleagues in the community setting. I know sometimes you'll walk in, it's very hectic, pretty busy. However, our pharmacists, my pharmacist colleagues are there to answer any questions. A couple of years ago, there was a Illinois law that was put into effect that you need to receive counseling with any new prescription that you pick up. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't need any counseling. I don't need to talk to the pharmacist about my medication, then go home and don't know what their medication is for. That is part of the process of you being informed and you being a patient, part, or you being a partner in your care. So when you go and pick up your medications at the pharmacy, if you have a question, say, hey, doc, I got a question. Can you tell me what this medication is for? Why I'm taking it? You know, what side effects is this medication going to cause? So if you see something, you're like, okay, well, they told me about this is gonna, go away in a couple of days versus, oh, this medication for my blood pressure is making me dizzy because it's doing what it's supposed to do, bring your blood pressure down, and your body is trying to regulate that. However, you're like, oh no, it makes me dizzy, it makes me sick, I'm not gonna take that medication. Okay, so you always want to make sure you talk to your pharmacist to say, hey, what is this medication going to do to me, or what should I expect from it? So when it happens, it's not foreign. And then also, if individuals are last point, if I do run into a lot of patients who are on several medications. If you are concerned about how many medications you are taking, you can always ask your pharmacist, okay, what recommendations can you provide? Are there any combination products that I can take? Or what are some of the things that I can do? Because everyone thinks that, oh, I'm a pharmacist, I want everybody to be on all the drugs in the world. No. If you are able to manage your disease states with nutrition, with exercise, with getting out and lowering your risk for these certain disease states, that's fine with me, right? But if you are on those medications, we want you to make sure that you're using those appropriately and effectively.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaw. Does anyone have a specific question? Well, let me ask one, I think that comes up, just one last question, if you would. Of course, AstraZeneca makes the greatest products in the world, so we're not talking about them. Now, but when we're talking about cardiac medication, sometimes the insurer will say, we're going to have to use a generic as opposed to the medication that the physician may have written. Could you, in a broad generalization, particularly when it comes to some of the cardiac meds, generic as good as the brand name, or how do we, how does that work?
So with your branded generic medications, they're ideally once the brand name medication has been authorized to be made by other companies as a generic drug, those studies have to be performed in order to make sure those medications are what we call AB rated, so that there are no difference from the actual branded product to the generic product. There may be differences in the manufacturing process. However, if that basic chemical compound is the same between our generic medications as well as our brand medications. So ideally, there should be no difference except in price for those generic medications. They tend to, they have the same efficacy, they have the same safety as our branded products. However, some of the, what we call excipients or our inactive ingredients may be a little bit different. However, that active ingredient is still the same. I do know that some individuals are a little bit leery about taking generic products or the generic form of it. It's not the brand, it's not from the original company. But if it is from a generic company, rest assured that it is the same product and you should have similar efficacy. I know some individuals may have allergies to particular dyes or particular inactive ingredients that may be in the generic product. That may be the only reason why that I've encountered that individuals may need to take a branded product versus a generic product. But outside of that, your generic product has the same efficacy, same safety as your branded product at a cheaper cost. No problem.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaw. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Dr. Shaw. For those of you who were here yesterday, you heard her speak then, gave a little bit of testimony. This time we're going to ask Ms. Giselle Bemorn to come up and talk a little bit about ATTR patient support groups. How you doing? Yeah.
No, I didn't bring my boyfriend today. Good afternoon, everyone. As we spoke yesterday and you heard today, heart disease is one of the top health concerns in the African American communities. African Americans in the United States are 30% more likely to die from health disease. It also affects African Americans at a younger age. So it is important to maintain a moderate weight, check your blood pressure regularly, take steps to moderate it, adopt heart-healthy habits, and know your family history. So I've got a bachelor's degree in business administration. I've got a master's in project management. I worked in health insurance for over 20 years. Then there's amyloidosis. So, amyloidosis is caused by an inherited variant, the TTR gene. Approximately 4% of African Americans carry this V122I gene in the transthyretin protein, which means that 1 out of every 25 of African Americans have this disease, and many do not know they have it. This gene variant has been associated with late onset of amyloid polyneuropathy, cardiomyopathy, and increased risk of death and heart failure. So, I've been diagnosed with amyloidosis. We spoke about this yesterday. It was around this time that I realized I wanted to follow my passion in my life and my career. I wanted to help people. I realized that most people don't fully understand their health concerns and how to maintain a quality life. My journey with amyloidosis showed me that people need help. So yes, I went back to school and became a certified health and wellness coach. Now, not only can I help 3 people through my own experience, I can guide them through their health challenges. As a health coach, no, I am not gonna talk to you about what you need to eat. I'm not gonna force you to go get those vegetables. What I'm going to do is sit down and talk to you about your personal goals, what it is that you want out of your life, what it is that you need me to do to help you attain those goals, whether it's eating better, whether it's losing weight, whether it's trying to be heart healthy. And we'll stray away from that and we can talk about your finances, how to start banking better. Anything in your life that you want to talk about, I'm here for you to help you get to your goals and meet them. So, I want you all to know that there's help out there. You've heard from various people here that's let you know what's in our communities, both their social media. Also, the young lady that did your health guide, I want you to know there's an app out there called MyFitnessPal. I'm speaking from experience. Eating all the right foods and still gaining weight. I had to take a step back and figure out what am I doing wrong. I pulled out my MyFitnessPal app, started measuring my food and weighing my food. And that app said, Giselle, you're eating too much. So I had to roll it back. So there's tools out there that we can use to help us understand our fitnesses, understand our goals. It also has the nutritional values of everything that you document in that app. So that's just a suggestion. That's the one I'll give you when you come see me about your health and wellness issues and concerns. But I do want to let you know about different support groups and organizations that are out here researching this awful disease called amyloidosis and other heart issues. They are sharing various information about the disease itself, about webinars, seminars, and social media. Number 1 is the American Heart Association. It has information about all diseases related to the heart. Google that, get that information. Shameless plug, if you put in American Heart Association with Giselle, my story comes up, so you can read all about that as well. BlackDoctors.org is another one. Let's see here. Black Health Matters. They address everything dealing with African Americans as far as our health issues, and they have seminars every quarter throughout the country. So check them out. And about amyloidosis, there's an organization called Amyloidosis Support Group. If you have those symptoms for amyloidosis, you can go on their website. Not only are they giving you information about the heart disease and the condition itself, also it has a search mechanism there that can show you what doctors you can go see about this awful condition. Here's my shameless plug. AstraZeneca. You guys know they're sponsoring here today. So our health needs is a world of connections. Our science is most powerful when we see health as an interconnection to people, society, and the planet. We are continually striving forward, progressing and understanding the diseases. And when our teams are part of like-minded collaborations, co-creating innovative solutions that transform care. So look on AstraZeneca's website and get more information from them. And back there on the table, you guys saw, I have my business card there about being a health and wellness coach. If you need assistance achieving your goals, give me a call and we'll work together. And those of you that may have amyloidosis, I created a Facebook page for Chicagoland amyloidosis patients. We are a family. We are a group that are encouraging each other. Any information about webinars, seminars, clinical trials, that information is located on that page. So we want to work together. No one is in this alone. And that is the most important piece. We are a family and we're working together. Thank you.
If anyone has a question, we'll come to you. But I tell you, Giselle, you had more shameless plugs than anybody I know. I thought you were going to pass the plate there for a minute. Yes, sir.
Might be a good idea.
Yes, MyFitnessPal. You want to know about the app? I also point out that you said AstraZeneca, and you put in there in your search engine, AstraZeneca ATTR will take you to a good site. And as we heard yesterday, University of Chicago ATTR will also take you to a place to get some good information. So you said that we have your card, your information down there. Are there several places available where people can go for wellness, or this is a Chicago area group?
This is Chicagoland only.
Okay.
So I'm the administrator on the group. If you do not live driving distance to Chicagoland, I'm not gonna let you get in our group. I'm sorry. We are planning to do meet and greets and informal meetings amongst each other. No professionals.
Okay.
We just want to get together and kind of hug on each other and learn from each other's experiences.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. Thank you. If you have not, again, we had the pre-program to fill out, then there's the post version of the program if you fill that out. To kind of bring us all home and make sense out of everything we've heard the last 2 days, I'm going to ask Dr. Lawrence Sanders to come up. He's the Chief Medical Officer for the HEAL Collaborative, and he can give us some final words and try to tie in this whole thing about what's going on as far as heart disease and ATTR. Thank you, Dr. Sanders.
Thank you very much. I think we've heard a lot of good stuff today. We've heard about navigation. We've heard about diet. We've heard about social factors. We've heard about medicine. We've heard about particularly amyloidosis as one type of heart disease. And we heard the alderman talk about putting grocery stores in neighborhoods. Did I get everybody? Oh, I forgot about that one, exercise. We started with that to begin with, and stretching. I'm gonna start at the bottom, and I'm gonna start with the amyloidosis to try to tie this together. I think that the speaker who talked about amyloidosis talked about the importance of heart disease. So why are we here? Why are we talking about heart disease? Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States. The #1 cause of death. It's been that way since 1900. So we've got some work to do. We've heard about amyloidosis as one type of heart disease, but we often think about heart disease, and sometimes the first thing we think about is, oh my goodness, I'm having a heart attack. That's only one type of heart disease, and that's coronary artery disease, where your heart doesn't get enough blood. But the heart is an intricate organ. It pumps blood to all of the other parts of the body, and none of the other organs can really function without the heart. But it's even more intricate than that, because the heart has to work together. We talked about congestive heart failure. I heard about congestive heart failure. I heard about other causes. Things can go wrong with the muscle of the heart. Things can go wrong with the valves of the heart. Things can go wrong with the electrical pumping system of the heart. And sometimes when one thing goes wrong, other things go wrong as well. You have a question?
Is that somewhat a heart disease?
It means that your heart beats too fast. She asked about having tachycardia. Tachycardia is the medical term for that your heart beats too fast. Well, there is a range that your heart should be beating. So if it's beating too fast, something's not quite right. The electrical system is doing something it should not be doing. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a lot of symptoms or that there are going to be other things that might shorten your life, but I think it's something you have to pay attention to because it is a symptom of heart disease. Am I making sense? Okay. And so then that gives me an opportunity to talk about what are some of the other symptoms. We talked about your heart beating too fast, or tachycardia, having pain or pressure in your chest. You know, if you walk and you get pressure in your chest, you stop and it gets better, you start again, you have pressure in your chest, that's a symptom of possible heart disease. If you're lying down at night and you have to sit straight up and catch your breath, that's a symptom of heart disease. If you are lightheaded, you get dizzy. I've heard all of these things this morning. You're lightheaded, you get dizzy. Those are symptoms of heart disease. So what if you do if you got those symptoms? That's when you need that navigator, because you need to go see your primary care physician, and that navigator can help you get through the diagnostic tests that you need to get to make sure and understand what's going on. And then when you figure out what's going on, then we have to go talk about the medicines that we have. And I think the most important thing is you got to take the medicine. And if something's not right with those medicines, then you got to figure out what it is before you stop taking them. You need to keep taking your medicine. So that's the medicines. And I would get to the exercise piece because sometimes after you get heart disease, you want to go to cardiac rehab. But I would say we need to do what we did this morning every day, because that might help us prevent heart disease. And that's where we get to the food and nutrition and a heart healthy diet, and where we really put more color on our plates to stay healthy. And so the goal of all of this is to keep our hearts from breaking and to take good care of our hearts such that we all stay healthy. But I want to end with one last statement. And we talk about social factors. We talk about that sometimes those social factors contribute more to health than going to the doctor. What I would say is none of these things work independently. But I want to go back to that idea about putting grocery stores in neighborhoods. I want to go back to that idea because that's about dividing up the resources. And who divides up the resources? The people we vote for. So you see how it all gets tied together. We all got to go out and vote, and we got to vote in the interest of our neighborhoods and communities that we get sufficient resources, because that's about really setting the stage. It's about what businesses come into that neighborhood. It's about what grocery stores, it's about what education, it's about all of those things. And that accounts for more about health than health care. So I'm going to stop there and say I hope this has been a great discussion, and I think we've had a lot of good information. And the reason is that we want to reverse this thing called heart disease. We don't want to be in the year of 2100 or 2100 still having the same degree of heart disease and the disproportionate burden in the neighborhoods and communities where we live. You have a question?
I was just gonna say with the social factors, you know, a lot of times it's the stress that's associated with not having access to the resources in the community, and stress can also lead to heart disease as well.
Very much so. And I think the social factors are important, but we can't let the politicians off the hook, because they've got to divide up the resources at every level. And when we start talking about it's my social factors, It's in that neighborhood, and it's the consequences of what's happening in that neighborhood. Another.
So, Mike Spill, I missed one thing that's important. Know your family health history. Talk to your family at these gatherings. Talk about your health issues along with the food and all of the other stuff. It's important to know if cousin, auntie had a condition that may have fallen down or trickled down to you or another family member. So have those conversations.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to add this to the seminar. It's been wonderful. But one of the things that I found out about most people, when they go to the doctor, they refuse to do what the doctor tells them to do. So I want to say to all of us that are present, if you're going to a physician, you need to follow the instructions. There are too many non-compliant people in the audience. And I just needed to point that out because I've been a caregiver. I've been a widow now for 2 years, but I had to take care of my husband and he was non-compliant.
I'm gonna let that one be. And what I'm gonna say is that's the most important thing because we all depend on people to help us be compliant. So thank you very much. I hope I did what you wanted, sir.
Thank you very much, as always, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We started off this program talking about two diagnoses a physician never makes. Number one is the diagnosis they don't know about, and number two is the diagnosis they don't think about. In the case of ATTR, cardiomyopathy, a lot of us did not know about this. I can tell you from my own training, I'm a colon and rectal surgeon. What do we know about amyloidosis in the heart? Well, I know you need the heart to pump blood down to the anus. That's an important organ. If you ain't been to the bowel, you haven't had a bowel movement, you know how important that organ is. However, it is key that we know what's going on. And if we understand, sometimes non-compliance is a matter of not understanding and being afraid to ask that question. We're confused. We fall into the myths and misinformation, which leads us not doing the right thing. But right now, we can't say that anymore. Number one, we know what ATTR is. And number two, so that means we all now have to think about it when someone comes in complaining of chest pain, joint problems, visual problems, digestive problems, shortness of breath. We know that we have family members who are dying off and we got to sit down and find out what the family history is. So those things aren't in the book. Right now, I want to thank everyone for being here. You've been very patient. I hope you like the information. And I'm going to have, let's see, I think if Deacon White is out there, he just stepped around. We're going to ask Deacon from Georgia. And I don't know if y'all can understand this southern accent from this guy, but we're going to ask Deacon Stanley Watson if he could come along and close us out, sir.
No harm being from the South. Are we all clear? We're good? All right, if you enjoyed our program today, give yourself a hand. Thank you so very much for being here this morning. We thank the pastor and also all of that has happened this morning. We'd like to thank AstraZeneca for helping us as well and being a great partner for us. Deacon Anderson, come on, go up here with me. I told him I was gonna be at church tomorrow, so I guess I better let him come up with me. So on behalf of Pastor Miller and Abundant Church, we'd like to thank you for coming. Our speakers are going to be around for a little while to talk to you, and if you want to speak to them, they'll be here with us again. There's a lot of information on the table back here in the back. AstraZeneca, anyone to say anything before we close out? No one? Everybody's good? All hearts and minds are clear? Excellent, excellent.
I want to thank everyone for coming. Now, the question and answer period need to be downstairs where the food is located at. I'm not trying to rush you out, but we have a basketball game that starts at 1 p.m. right here in this room. So I want to thank everyone. We want to thank I'm drawing a blank. He'll collaborate for partnering with us. We want to thank AstraZeneca. We want to thank you guys that came, all the presenters yesterday as well as today for the good information that you shared. And we just pray that we'll be able to receive it, utilize it, and pass it on to others, that they will be the better as we protect our hearts and our minds so we can share with others the goodness of God through healthy eating, and then through preventive medicine. Amen? All right, let us stand as we do a benedictory prayer. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we do thank you. Thank you for what our ears have heard and our hearts have been able to feel. Now, God, as we go forth on this day, we pray that you would be with us and stand by us. Then, oh God, we pray especially for every person that came in to present. We pray that you would be with them, give them traveling grace and arriving mercies as they make their way to their various